Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Winker-Rossio, and today we're going to be covering Chapter 8.1, Circles and Circumference. Reference pages to this could be found in your Google Classroom 8.1, pages 318 through 320. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first, I would like for you to go ahead and draw a circle on your paper to begin. And then after that, I would like you to draw a dot or a point in the center, and we will call this center. Every circle has a center, and that's how you can also name a circle. Okay, next, I would like for you to draw a line across from one side to the middle to the other side of the circle. This black line is called the diameter. It starts from one side of the circle, passes through the middle to the other side. It goes all the way across, but remember, it has to pass through the middle. That's called the diameter. Now, a radius is just half of a diameter. So we start from the center and we go to the outside edge, and that's called a radius. It's half of a diameter. So if you have two radius, we call them two radii. So for example, I'm going to draw an example right here for you. If we have two radius, I'll draw a quick circle. And we have one here, and then we have another one here. Those two are called a radii. Two radius, 1 and 2 gives you a diameter. So below here I have here two formulas that you can write down that will help you to figure out a diameter or a radius on your assignment. So I have here a diameter is 2r. In other words, 2 radii gives you a diameter. A radius is just the diameter split in half. So if you have the diameter right here, follow the line, and if you split it in half, divided by 2, that gives you a radius. Okay, so go ahead and draw the circle, write down each part right here, and go ahead and copy down the diameter and radius formula. You may pause the video if you need more time. Okay, next, we're going to go ahead and do example 1. So in this example, we're going to be finding either the radius or a diameter. So I have here two circles. The first example, A, says the diameter of a circle is 20 feet. So the diameter is the distance from one side to the other side, passing the middle. And if you want to find the radius, it's just split in half. So half of 20 is 10. Now, if you want to do this with the equation, what we're going to do, I wrote the equation here for you. We're going to take the diameter. Radius equals d over 2. Diameter is 20. So 20 is going to be divided by 2. And 20 divided by 2 is 10, like we said earlier. So the radius in this example is 10. Now, for the diameter, again, a diameter is just going to be doubled. So if we have 7m is one radius, and if you want to make a diameter, you need 2 of these radii. So 2 radii, 7 and 7 is going to give you 14. Let's see. 2, what's the radius? 7. So 2 times 7 gives you 14. So the diameter for this green circle is 14. Again, a diameter is just going to be double of a radius, and then a radius is just going to be split in half of a diameter. If you need to go ahead and pause this video or rewind this video to watch it again to understand it clear, go ahead and do so. I'm going to go ahead and move on. I would like for you to take out a piece of paper, and then if you can do examples 1 and 2 on your own, and see if you can find the radius for number 1 and then the diameter for number 2. Okay? All right, example 2 is coming up, but before we do that, I'm going to talk about what a circumference is. Very important you know what a circumference is. The circumference is basically the distance around the circle. When we want to know the measurement or how big a circle is, we can measure it by its distance around. Notice I'm making a circular motion. So that's circumference. Now, key ideas. Again, distance around right here. That's why we have C going around in blue. If you can copy this down, label C going around the circle, that's circumference. D, we've already done, that's diameter. And then R is going to be the radius. And this blue dot right here, that's called the center. Now, C, I have here that represents circumference. Now, we have two formulas you can use to find the distance around a circle. If you are given a problem with diameter, you can use pi d. If you are given a problem that only gives you radius, you can use 2 pi r. So copy down these two formulas so that you can have to use for the lesson. Now, both is solving for circumference, so they are very similar. Again, one uses d for diameter and one uses r for radius. Now, you also need to know what pi is. Now, if you don't know what pi is going to be valued 3.14. And the other way you can also use pi is by using it as a fraction 22 over 7. So if the book says to multiply pi by d, you're going to multiply 3.14 by d. Or you can also say 22 over 7 times d. That's what pi represents. Okay, let's go ahead and do example 2. So in example 2, it says here, you're going to find the circumference of circles. Now, in example A, we're going to use pi with 3.14, but in example B, we're going to use pi as 22 over 7. Either way, you're always going to get the same answer, but I'm just going to show you the two examples, the two ways you can use pi. So it says here, the first one, find the circumference of a flying disc. So this is like a frisbee, and it has a radius of 5. So in this case, I would use 2 pi r because they gave me the radius. So if they gave me the radius, I'm going to plug in 5 for r. Again, on your homework, you're going to have to decide which formula to use. And I use this one because they gave me the r. And then I know that pi, they said they want me to use 3.14. So pi is going to be multiplied by 5. So 3.14 multiplied by 5. And then that is also going to be multiplied by 2. Now, so you basically simply multiply 2 times 3.14 times 5. But because I know 2 times 5 is easily done, I'm going to do 2 times 5 is 10. And then I'm going to do 10 times 3.14, and then I know that I can always move the decimal over 1 to the right, so I have a total of 31.4. Now, if you don't know how to move decimals and you just want to multiply 10 times 3.14, that works too. Let me just erase this for those of you who might ask, what is that right there? That's a 4, okay? All right, so the answer is 3.14. For that's going to be the circumference, the distance around this frisbee right here. Now, for this watch, what's the distance around the circumference around this watch? So in this example, they gave us that the diameter right here is 28 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 28 for the diameter. But this time, instead of using 3.14, they want us to use 22 over 7. So I'm going to put 22 over 7. It means the same thing as 3.14 if you were to multiply 22 over 7. But they want you to use the 22 over 7 instead. So I'm going to multiply that. I'm going to make this over 1 because anything that you want to make as a fraction, you put it over 1. And then I'm going to multiply 22 times 28, and 22 times 28, you can do that on the side. That's going to be 6, 16. And then after that, over 7 times 1 is 7. Now I can reduce this, so I'm going to divide it by 7 and get a total of 88. So the circumference, the distance around this watch is going to be, be 88. 88 millimeters. There we go. Okay, so I would like for you to go ahead, try some examples in the next slide. Again, if I'm going too fast or if something doesn't make sense, go ahead and pause it and watch it again. Okay, go ahead and try 3, 4, and 5. In this case, you may use either 3.14 or 22 over 7, whichever one you feel comfortable for pi. But make sure you use the formulas that we used in the last example, either 2 pi r or pi d. Again, r is when you have the r, and d is when you have the d. Okay, in our last example here, it says finding the perimeter of a semicircle region. Now, we already have the circumference formula, which I showed you in the last 2 slides. It's 2 pi r or pi d. So if we want to find the perimeter, which is basically, if we were to find the perimeter of a regular quadrilateral, we would just add this side, this side, this side, and this side. So same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to have to add this side with this side. But the problem is we don't know what this half circle distance is. So we need to find the circumference. We have a circumference formula, which is going to be C equals pi d. And the reason why I'm using pi d is why? Because we are given the diameter. We weren't given the radius. If you were given the radius, I would use the other one, 2 pi r. Okay, so now let's go ahead and fill in what we know. We know that the diameter is 6, so I'm going to put 6 here. We know that pi is going to be 3.14, so I'm going to multiply this by 3.14. So 3.14, and then I'm going to go ahead and multiply that. So 3.14, if you can't do this in your head, then you can always do it on the side. So 3.14 times 6 is going to be 18.84. So I'm going to go ahead and jot that down, 18.84. I'll put it over here, 18.84, and that's going to be the C. Now, what I'm going to do though is after that, that's going to be for the full circle. Since I only have half a circle, I need to take this part and I'm going to divide it by 2. Why? Because this represents a full circle and I only need half because there's half of it only. So divide this by 2, and then after I divide that by 2, I get 9.42. So this gives me the distance around this circle, which is 9.42. Now, that doesn't answer our question though. Our question says, find the perimeter of the semicircle region. Well, since you know this is 9.42, we'll take 9.42. So 9.42. And since you know the diameter of this, because we want to find the perimeter, which is the distance around everything, we're going to add these two together. And once we add all this together, this will be the perimeter of the semicircle. So we'll add that together and you'll get 15.42. So the hardest part for this part is to understand that the circumference, this is the formula, but we divide it by 2 because it's half of the semicircle. Okay, again, if you didn't understand something, go ahead and pause it, watch it again. But I would like for you to try number 6, 7, and 8 on your own portion. So you should have 8 questions for on your own tonight. And then for the exit ticket, if you can try letter A and B. And any questions you have for today's lesson or in the video, go ahead and jot it down and please ask me in class tomorrow. Have a great day.